Hello, this is the Mad Monk. I'm talking about suicide epidemic in 5 minutes or less. We're getting to the root of the problems. Because if the root can cause many fruits. And what we see is the fruits, but what we don't see is the roots. So we're going to talk about suicide. Since COVID kicked off, I know a handful of people who have killed themselves. And these numbers aren't being talked about, because if there was a mass number of monkeys killing themselves, we would introduce a scientific study to find out why. I mean, why is something so capable of living life in peace and abundance and in health and happiness killing itself, right? And we have a real problem here, because even young people are killing themselves, a lot of them, and veterans, a lot of them. The last number I heard was over 20 a day are killing themselves. And in the civilian world, the number's much higher, much higher. And it's estimated that at least globally, up to 16,000 per day are at least attempting suicide. So luckily they're not good at it, right? Or they're just seeking some help. But the roots of suicide, we're dealing with struggle, we're dealing with depression, we're dealing with anxiety, we're dealing with perpetual debt to exist. We're dealing with if you don't make a certain amount of money, you're not going to have shelter to keep you safe at night or keep you out of the elements. If you don't have a certain amount of money, you're not going to be able to have healthy food. If you don't have a certain amount of money, you're not going to be able to have clean water. If you don't have a certain amount of money, you're not going to have transportation and you're not going to have healthcare. If you don't have a certain amount of money, you're going to have all of these things. Well, it promotes stress. And stress is the number one killer. And one of the roots of it, or one of the stemming parts of stress, is suicide. So if we remove stress and we remove the struggle to exist in the world, I bet everything that I own that we can reduce the number of suicides by reducing the amount of stress and struggle that it is to exist in this society, right? And that's really easy to do. We're going to be talking about a lot of these different roots on this little series that I'm doing here. Suicide, though. Suicide is a real epidemic. We need to address the problems in the world, because we've hired government to solve problems in the world that we don't want to handle, but it's not being efficiently handled. I worked for the federal government for 9 years, and I realized that I was not helping anything. I was participating in that program of death and destruction, and so I quit. And now I'm working in a much better path: peace and abundance and creation, and things that we can be doing in our world that people will feel connected, people will feel united, people will feel comfortable and secure in who they are, and making sure that their shelter is easily provided. Shelter is easy to provide. We're going to do another one on homelessness here in a minute. And stress, the amount of stress that has been introduced into our society in the last 2 years has exponentially increased the amount of people that are killing themselves. And people are killing themselves slowly through poor diets. They're killing themselves slowly through alcohol or drug addictions, or they're putting a bullet in their head, or they're hanging themselves, or they're jumping off bridges, or they're driving their car into a rock wall, or there's all sorts of ways that people are creative in how they're ending their own life. And if we don't address things at the root, we're going to have so many fruits that are spoiling because of what is going on. So if we address the roots, we change the fruits, and that is the solution to suicide, is addressing it. Why? Why is there so much struggle to exist when we have technology, and we have automation, and we have so many people that are working so hard just to try to live? And my 5 minutes is up.